My mother-in-law destroyed my garden, then laughed. Oops, accidents happen. To my face, I said, they sure do. When her car accidentally got towed after I reported it abandoned in my driveway, the accidents continued. I, 34 male, work as an HVAC technician. Nothing fancy, but it pays the bills. My wife Jenna, 32, and I bought our first house 2 years ago. A modest 3-bedroom place with a decent backyard. The house needed work, but the yard, that became my sanctuary. Growing up in apartments, I'd never had space to grow anything. So when we moved in, I went all in. YouTube tutorials, library books, local gardening groups, I absorbed everything. Started small with tomatoes and herbs, then expanded. By this spring I had raised beds full of vegetables, a berry patch along the fence, and a small greenhouse I built myself from salvaged windows. My mother-in-law Diane, 58F, has always been difficult. Nothing was ever good enough. Our house was quaint, read small. My job was blue-collar, read beneath her daughter. But the garden? That really bothered her. Men don't garden, she'd say. That's women's work. The 1950s called, they want their stereotypes back, I'd reply. She'd huff and change tactics. You're wasting money on dirt and seeds when you could just buy vegetables at the store. The thing is, I tracked everything. Between what we saved on groceries and what I sold at the local farmer's market on weekends, the garden actually turned a small profit. Not much, maybe $800 last summer, but it was mine. Last Saturday, Jenna went to her college roommate's baby shower 3 hours away. Overnight trip. Diane knew this. She'd been invited but declined, saying she had important committee work for her country club. I worked a half day, came home around 2 p.m. to find Diane's white Lexus in my driveway. Weird, but whatever. Maybe she was dropping something off. The gate to the backyard was open. I walked through and just stopped. My garden was destroyed, not damaged, destroyed. The raised beds were overturned, soil everywhere. My tomato plants, 2 months of growth, ripped out and thrown aside. The berry bushes I'd been nurturing for 2 years, hacked down to stumps. The greenhouse windows smashed, glass glittering in the ruins of my seedlings. Diane stood there in her designer gardening gloves, pristine, never used for actual gardening, holding my own pruning shears. Oh, Michael, she pressed a hand to her chest. You're home early. I couldn't speak, just stared at the destruction. I thought I'd help tidy up while Jenna was away. You know how untidy gardens can get. But goodness, I'm afraid I don't know much about plants. She laughed. Actually laughed. Oops, accidents happen. Accidents, I repeated, voice flat. Well, it was all so overgrown. I couldn't tell the weeds from the whatever those were. She waved dismissively at my destroyed tomato plants. But isn't this better? Now you have a clean slate. Maybe you can put in a nice patio for entertaining, something more appropriate. I looked at her smirk, at the systematic destruction that no one could mistake for helping. Accidents happen, I said quietly. They sure do. She missed the tone completely, just kept babbling about property values and curb appeal. I went inside, got my phone, and started taking pictures. Every angle, every destroyed plant, the scattered soil, the broken glass. What are you doing? Her voice got sharp. Documenting the accident, for insurance. Her face went pale. Insurance? Don't be dramatic, Michael. It's just a few plants. I kept taking pictures. Got video of her still holding my pruning shears, standing in the wreckage. She left pretty quickly after that. I spent the next 3 hours calculating damages. The plants, the greenhouse, the seasons of growth destroyed, the lost income from the farmer's market, came to about $2,400. Not a fortune, but not nothing either. Jenna called that night. I told her what happened. Silence. Then, she destroyed your garden? Completely. I'm coming home. Tomorrow's fine. Nothing to do tonight anyway. Michael, I'm so sorry. I can't believe it. Actually, no, I can believe it. God, I'm so sorry. Here's the thing about my wife. She knows her mother is toxic. She's been in therapy for 2 years dealing with it. She sets boundaries, but Diane tramples them. We've been discussing going low contact. I think we just hit no contact. When Jenna got home Sunday, she was furious. Called her mother immediately, put it on speaker. Mom, what did you do to Michael's garden? Oh, sweetie, I was trying to help. You know how men are with outdoor projects. They never finish anything properly. You destroyed it. Destroyed is such a strong word. I was improving your property value. You should thank me. Thank you, I touched Jenna's arm, shook my head. Save your energy, I mouthed. She took a breath. Mom, you owe Michael $2,400 for the damages. Diane actually laughed. For vegetables? Don't be ridiculous. If he wants to play farmer, he can replant his little hobby. It's not a hobby, Mom. He sells at the farmer's market. You destroyed his source of income. Source of income? Please. Maybe if he focused on his real job instead of playing in dirt, you wouldn't be living in that tiny house. Jenna hung up. Monday came. Diane's car was in my driveway when I got home from work. No one was in it. No note. Just her white Lexus, parked diagonally across my entire driveway, blocking both our cars in the garage. I texted Jenna. Your mom's car is in our driveway. She's not in it. What? She's at her book club, according to Facebook. Interesting. I called the non-emergency police line. Hi, there's an abandoned vehicle blocking my driveway. No one's responded to knocks. Been here at least 6 hours according to neighbors. They sent someone out. Officer looked at the car, looked at me. You know whose car this is? No idea. Just need it gone so I can get to work tomorrow. He ran the plates, called for a tow. Diane must have gotten the call from the tow company because she showed up just as they were loading it onto the flatbed. What are you doing to my car? Ma'am, is this your vehicle? The officer asked. Of course it is. You abandoned it in this gentleman's driveway. I didn't abandon it. I was visiting. Visiting, I said. I've been home for 2 hours. You weren't here. Haven't seen you since Saturday. I left it here for safekeeping. The officer looked at her. Ma'am, you can't store your vehicle on private property without permission. It's being impounded. You can retrieve it from the lot tomorrow after paying the fine and towing fees. She turned on me. You called them. Someone abandoned a car in my driveway. What was I supposed to do? I was teaching you a lesson about respect. The officer's eyebrows went up. Ma'am, are you admitting to intentionally blocking his driveway as harassment? Her mouth snapped shut. The tow truck left with her Lexus. The officer gave me his card, said to call if there were more issues. Diane had to call an Uber. I waved from my doorway. Accidents happen, I called out. Her face was purple. Update 1. Y'all were right. Extinction burst doesn't even begin to cover it. That's up Tuesday. Diane paid $450 to get her car out of impound. Jenna heard about it from her dad, Richard, who called to ask what was going on. Jenna explained everything. Richard was quiet, then said, Your mother needs to apologize and pay for the damages. Diane refused. Instead, she started a campaign. Wednesday morning, I woke up to my neighbors asking about the flyers. Someone had put flyers on every door on our street. They had my picture, pulled from Facebook, and text saying I was starting a commercial farming operation in a residential neighborhood, that I was bringing down property values, attracting pests, and selling produce without proper permits. I actually laughed. Because I'd done my homework. Our city explicitly allows personal gardens and selling excess produce at farmers markets without permits if you make under $5,000 annually. I had all the documentation, but several neighbors were concerned. I spent Wednesday evening showing them the actual regulations, photos of my destroyed garden, and explaining what really happened. Most were sympathetic. Mr. Rodriguez from 2 houses down was pissed. He'd been buying my tomatoes all summer. That woman destroyed your beautiful garden? The one my grandkids love to look at? Yeah, Diane didn't research the neighborhood dynamics. Half these people were my customers. Thursday was when she escalated to actual illegality. I have a Ring doorbell, thank God. Caught her at 3 a.m. Thursday morning, creeping up my driveway with a bottle of what turned out to be herbicide. She was heading for my front lawn when the motion lights triggered. She panicked, dropped the bottle, and ran. The bottle cracked, leaked all over her as she scrambled to her car. I had crystal clear video of everything. Called the police that morning, showed them the video. Attempted criminal mischief and trespassing. They picked her up at her house. Jenna got the call at work. Her mother had been arrested and needed bail. Let her sit, Jenna said, and hung up. Richard bailed her out that evening. Called Jenna, furious. Not at us, at Diane. 40 years of marriage and I've never been so embarrassed. She tried to poison your lawn. What's next? Burning down your house? Dad, has she seemed okay lately? Turns out Diane had been spiraling since her sister moved to Florida 6 months ago. Her sister was the only person who could really handle her, call her on her BS. Without that check, Diane had been getting worse. The country club had actually suspended her membership for causing drama. But here's the kicker. Friday morning, I got served. Diane was suing us for emotional distress, defamation, and malicious prosecution. Her lawyer must have been desperate for billable hours because this was ridiculous. She claimed I entrapped her by having security cameras, defamed her by telling neighbors the truth, and caused her severe emotional distress by having her car towed. Jenna laughed. Actually laughed when she read it. She knows we have a lawyer friend, right? Our friend Tony is a defense attorney. Took one look at the lawsuit and said, countersue immediately. So we did. For the garden damages, the herbicide attempt, trespassing, harassment, and defamation, the flyers. We included the video, the photos, witness statements from neighbors, and receipts showing my garden income. But wait, there's more. Saturday, Diane showed up at the farmer's market. I was selling what little produce I'd salvaged from plants in the garage. She made a scene, telling customers I was a violent man who attacked a defenseless old woman. Several regular customers who knew me just stared at her. Mrs. Chen, who'd been buying my herbs for a year, said, Diane, from the country club, didn't you get suspended for throwing wine at the staff? Diane fled, but not before 3 vendors recorded her on their phones. Tony added harassment of business to our countersuit. Update 2. The legal stuff is moving slower than expected, but the universe apparently decided to serve Diane some instant karma. Remember the herbicide incident? Well, when she dropped and broke the bottle, she got it all over herself and her car. Her Lexus interior was destroyed. The leather seats were stained and the smell wouldn't come out. Insurance wouldn't cover it because it was damaged during commission of a crime. She tried to trade it in. Dealership offered her $8,000 less than she owed because of the chemical damage and smell. She's stuck driving around in a car that reeks of weed killer. Then the country club thing escalated. Turns out 3 other members had complained about Diane harassing them. The market incident was the final straw. 2 of the farmers market vendors were also club members. They permanently revoked her membership. For Diane, this was social death. That club was her entire identity. She tried joining another club. They called our house, still had us as emergency contacts for a reference. Jenna told them exactly why her mother was looking for a new club. Application denied. Richard filed for separation. He'd been staying in a hotel since the arrest, but made it official last week. 40 years of marriage, and he was done. I can't defend her anymore, he told Jenna. The garden was bad enough, but trying to poison your lawn? Getting arrested? Suing my own daughter? She needs help I can't give her. Diane blamed us, obviously. Started calling Jenna's work. Not to talk, just hanging up when someone answered. 20, 30 times a day. They had to get IT to block her number. She created fake Facebook profiles to message me, telling me I'd destroyed her family and she'd make me pay. Screenshots went straight to Tony. Then yesterday happened. I was at Home Depot buying lumber to rebuild my raised beds. Came out to find every tire on my truck slashed. But here's Diane's problem. Home Depot has more cameras than a casino. Loss prevention pulled the footage immediately. Clear as day. Diane, in broad daylight, slashing my tires with what looked like a kitchen knife. She didn't even try to hide her face. The police were there in 10 minutes. I pressed charges. Grand theft auto. The damage exceeded $950, vandalism, and violation of the restraining order we'd gotten last week. She was arrested in the Home Depot parking lot, screaming that I was ruining her life, that I was nothing but trash who corrupted her daughter. No bail this time. The judge considered her a danger. She's sitting in county lockup awaiting trial. Jenna cried last night. Not sad tears, exhausted ones. I knew she was toxic, but this is insane. She made her choices, I said. I know, it's just, she's my mom. Was my mom. I don't know who this person is. Richard came by this morning, brought coffee and a check for $2,400. For the garden, he said. I know it doesn't fix what she did, but it's a start. You don't have to. I do. I enabled her for 40 years, made excuses, looked the other way. If I'd put my foot down earlier, maybe it wouldn't have gotten this bad. He helped me rebuild one of the raised beds. Didn't say much, just worked. Before he left, he said, I'm glad Jenna has you. You're a good man, better than I was. Tony says with the criminal charges and our evidence, the civil suits are a slam dunk. Diane's looking at probable jail time for the tire slashing, especially with the prior arrest and restraining order violation. My garden will take years to fully recover. The berry bushes are gone, the perennials destroyed, but I've already started seeds in the garage for next season. My neighbors have been dropping off plant cuttings and seed packets. Mr. Rodriguez's grandkids made me a card with a drawing of vegetables that says, "Sorry about your garden, Mr. Mike." Diane lost everything. Her marriage, her social status, her freedom, her relationship with her daughter, because she couldn't stand that her son-in-law grew vegetables. Oops, accidents happen, right? Final update. The criminal trial was last week. Diane pled guilty to avoid a longer sentence. 6 months in county jail, 3 years probation, mandatory therapy, and she has to pay restitution for my truck tires in the garden. She looked bad. Jail didn't suit her. Her perfect hair was gray at the roots, her designer clothes replaced with county orange. She wouldn't look at us during the sentencing. Her lawyer read a statement, not an apology, but an explanation. Claimed she was suffering from stress, that her actions were out of character, that she'd been struggling with mental health issues. The judge wasn't buying it. "Mrs. Patterson, you systematically destroyed property, attempted to poison a lawn with herbicide, distributed defamatory flyers, harassed a business, violated a restraining order, and slashed tires. This wasn't a momentary lapse. This was a campaign of escalating criminal behavior." The civil suit settled out of court. Insurance, Richard's homeowner's policy, surprisingly, paid out $15,000. After Tony's fees, we got about $11,000. More than enough to rebuild the garden, and then some. Richard and Diane's divorce was finalized yesterday. He gave her the house, but kept his retirement. She'll have to sell. Can't afford the mortgage alone, especially with legal fees. Last I heard, she was moving in with a cousin out of state after her sentence. The country club crowd has completely ostracized her. Someone leaked the security footage of her slashing my tires to a local Facebook group. It went viral in our area. She became a meme. Garden grandma gone wild. Not how anyone wants to be remembered. Jenna's doing better. Therapy twice a week now. She says it's like mourning a death. The mother she thought she had never really existed. We're planning to use some of the settlement money for a vacation. Somewhere with beaches and no family drama. The garden is coming back. Slower than I'd like, but it's progress. The neighbors have been amazing. Mrs. Chen brought me cuttings from her grandmother's heritage tomato plants. Mr. Rodriguez and his grandkids helped me plant new berry bushes. The vendors at the farmer's market pooled money to buy me a new greenhouse kit, a nicer one than I'd built myself. Plot twist. Richard's been coming by every weekend to help with the garden. Turns out he used to garden before Diane convinced him it was beneath their status. He's good at it. We don't talk much, just work side by side. Last week he brought his own tools. "I'm thinking of starting my own garden," he said. "At my new apartment. Nothing fancy, just tomatoes maybe." "I can help with that," I offered. He smiled. First real smile I'd seen from him in years. "I know this isn't the usual happy ending. A family destroyed, a woman in jail, relationships that can't be repaired. But sometimes that's reality. Sometimes toxic people don't change. They just escalate until they self-destruct. My garden will grow back. My marriage is stronger. I've got a father-in-law who's becoming a friend and neighbors who've become family." And Diane? She's got 6 months to think about how accidents happen. Best part? Next season, I'm naming a tomato variety after this whole incident. Thinking of calling them karma tomatoes. They take a while to ripen, but they're worth the wait. The farmers market folks love the idea. Edit, since people keep asking, yes, I have all the documentation. No, I'm not sharing the videos or photos for obvious legal reasons. And yes, I did sell karma tomatoes at the market. They sold out in an hour. Sometimes the universe has a sense of humor.